Hey guys, welcome to Let's Do Books. I am your host, Brooklyn, and with me is my faithful friend, Tara.
Hello!
And today we decided to do something a little bit different. I wanted to do a thing where we just kind of we found out who is Tara, this amazing lady behind the podcast? Where did she come from? And why is she still here? Where are you going? Hey Tara, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you, Brooklyn. Thank you for having me.
So I thought I'd do something special for this podcast because Tara does all these amazing podcasts and she's always constantly interviewing amazing people. And so I thought if the theme is let's interview amazing people, I thought we would interview Tara. So let's get started. First of all, I think this is the most commonly asked question I get about Tara. What is your middle name?
It is actually Michelle.
Ooh. All right. We're not going to give away your last name because that's creepy.
I already used my last name for all this stuff.
Oh. Tara Michelle Scott. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your sign? As in, what's your astrological sign? What's your birthday?
So my birthday is on July 25th. And interestingly, I thought for years that I was a Leo, and I was always confused when I would read descriptions for Leos because I was like, this is not me at all. They're so bad. All these people who write this horoscope stuff is bullshit, and they're all really bad at it until somebody pointed out, no, dum-dum, it's, you're on the cusp, so actually, you're more like a Cancer. And now when I read horoscopes, I'm like, oh yeah. Yep, that's what I am right there.
You're total Cancer too. You're total Cancer, and I don't know if anybody is into astrological signs, but Cancers are kind of very caring and nurturing, and Tara is a total Cancer. Look it up, guys, if you want to get to know Tara. Now we have all of her secrets right here. All right. So, okay, what was the original purpose for your Twitter account? Because now we all know it was for the Lesbian Review.
That's right. It was always for the Lesbian Review, even years before I joined the Lesbian Review. I don't know. I think I think it was just for personal use and to follow people I knew and interesting people. And one of them happened to be Sheena with the Lesbian Reviews account.
Which kind of helps me segue into one of my other questions, which is, how did you first discover the Lesbian Review? Okay, how did you get a friend request from Sheena? Did she request you? Was it recommended? What happened?
So I actually discovered the Lesbian Review on Twitter. Somebody else must have retweeted from Sheena or interacted with her account somehow. And I started following her and thought she was interesting and the book she was reviewing was interesting. So one day I tweeted and said, hey, you should review this book. And she said, you do it. So
classic Sheena move.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And apparently she liked that review because then she said, you want to do some more reviews? And that was more than 2.5 years ago.
This is off my interview questions, but were you actively seeking out lesbian books at the time? Did you have a need for that, or was this some kind of godsend where you're oh, lesbian books, this is great?
So at that point, I was proofreading for Bold Strokes books. And so I was really familiar with their books, but I wasn't familiar with any of the other publishers. So I had gotten to where I knew which of the Bold Strokes authors I really liked. And so I had kind of my auto-buy authors there. But I was following Sheena because I was really interested in finding out who are the good authors with the other companies. I didn't know anything about Bella. I was starting, Ilva was just kind of really picking up steam at that point. So I sort of knew what was going on there. And I had been listening to a podcast called the Ladylike Book Club. Anyway, it was awesome. And it was kind of similar to how we used to run Let's Do Books when you were my lovely, wonderful co-host.
Surprise, guys, I used to do podcasting.
And so I discovered some books that way, but it was kind of hard to get reliable recommendations otherwise. So yeah, finding Lesbian Review was awesome.
Yes. Sheena, I was searching around okay, this is not the me story time, but I was could not find any reliable people to tell me if a book was good. So same boat there. Okay, next question. Let's go back in time real quick, and I want to know, like, what was your first lesbian book? How old were you? What was it? Did you hide it like a kid who stole candy?
Mm-hmm.
What? How many times did you read it?
So the first book, oh, you know what's funny? I've been saying that the first lesfic book I ever read was And Playing the Role of Herself. And that's only kind of sort of true. And it's not that I wasn't lying or anything like that. And Playing the Role of Herself is the book that got me into lesfic reading and reviewing and that kind of thing. And so I found that because Jezebel reprinted a list from Autostraddle that somebody had that was like the 10 lesbian books on my Kindle. And I was like, okay, let's check that out. And I'm pretty sure that book is directly responsible for how much I love celebrity romances too, because I adore them. and it's a great one. But in university, like if I go back, like really go back, and this was like in university, I think I was in grad school even at the time, because I did 2 literature degrees, and there was this amazing, actually they had a bunch of amazing used bookstores in Kingston where I went to Queen's University, and I came across Jane Rule. And so I read Desert of the Heart, which is kind of like the big famous one because it was also a film, and then a few other ones. And at the time, I didn't understand why I was so drawn to it, much like why when I started reading lesfic, I didn't understand why I was so drawn to it. But now I get it, of course, because, you know, literature is part of what helped me figure out my sexuality. I mean, that and my husband going, hey, you're reading a lot of these super gay books. Do you think you might be... Do you think maybe there's something to that?
Very intuitive man.
He is.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, Tara likes famous people romance books like a weirdly amount. Like, it's weird.
It's not weird. It's perfectly healthy. They're really good books.
A little bit less than eroticas.
I mean, they're very different. I love them with different parts of my heart.
Oh.
But if you can give me an erotic celebrity romance,
ooh,
authors who might be listening, if you can do this for me, I will be very happy.
Ooh. Yes. That's the thing that, yeah, I'm not going to say that's inappropriate. Anyway. Let's move on to something more personal, and I know that everybody's dying to know, and I just found this out today. What do you prefer? Not what do you drink. What do you prefer? Tea or coffee?
Oh, you think you learned that today, but you didn't. I actually prefer coffee, but I don't drink coffee anymore. Because it ramps my anxiety too much, so I drink tea instead.
Yeah. So, all right, for everybody, that's the vote for coffee. Everybody know, for all my coffee drinkers.
I miss coffee. I drink tea every day, and every day I miss coffee.
I feel bad now. I'm over here sipping coffee in front of her. So.
Nah, it's all right. I'm having it's a good tea. It's a nice. I'm having.
It was a free tea.
For all the people who care, I'm having my Starbucks order, which is a Grande London Fog with coconut milk and no sweetener, which really just means 2 Earl Grey tea bags in hot coconut milk.
I love the breakdown of what it really means. Facts.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
So if at all, how has your life been affected by the Lesbian Review? Because I would like to say it has changed everything for you, from your appearance to your personality. Go.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, it's changed. It's changed a lot of things. I think the most important thing that it did was give me a community, because when I came to the Lesbian Review, and it was just Sheena at that point, and then you joined shortly after, and then, you know, we had other reviewers come on. And then from there, we grew, like, we started this podcast, and then the Lesbian Review Book Club became an extension of that at that point. And so I was able to make a lot of friends and really kind of become part of a community where I'd felt quite isolated. Because when I joined the Lesbian Review, I knew I was bisexual. I didn't have very many queer people around me, and it was kind of lonely working through trying to figure out what does this actually mean? Because in a lot of ways, in a lot of practical ways, it didn't actually change anything because I'm still married to Neil. I'm still very happily married, like I married the right person. But at the same time, emotionally, it felt like everything changed. Apart from how I felt about him. Like, the way I perceived myself changed. My thought processes changed. I was able to, like, look back at the way I had operated in the world and recognize how much I had compartmentalized. And so it was trying to reconcile all of that. And Neil was amazing. He was incredibly supportive, 100%, and continues to be. Like, he is my biggest supporter and my biggest champion. And I couldn't do the reviewing and the podcasting if I didn't have his support the way I do. Because how else do you review 100 books a year across a couple of different sites without somebody helping out with the kids and giving you space to do it, and like when it's on top of a full-time job? So I am so grateful that he's my partner, but it was still lonely. Especially without, many other queer women to talk to about it. So the Lesbian Review gave me that. It gave me that kind of a soft place to land and figure it out. And I think it was also particularly helpful. Sheena talks about this in Ask a Bisexual, but there was an author who came to Sheena and told her that she didn't think that I should be reviewing at the Lesbian Review because I have a husband. And Sheena did not put up with that at all. And I don't think I knew until it happened how much I needed that. Because I needed someone to say, it's okay. Like, you're okay exactly as you are, and this is where you belong.
It's like one thing for people to be like, oh, it's okay, but I feel like it's a totally different thing to have someone like beat someone away for you. Like, I know that actions speak louder than words, so like you've got everybody like, oh, bisexual is fine, but like when it comes down to it, Sheena will like punch somebody in the face for you. I love her.
Yeah, I think she actually might. And I think that's been important. And even the way she like launched the Ask a Bisexual podcast, I think she's doing a lot of really good, helpful, positive work to make sure that bisexual women feel included in the lesfic community. Because I know that for a long time, it wasn't safe for a lot of them. There were, authors and readers that didn't feel like they could talk about their husbands or couldn't say that they were bisexual. And at that point, it went from, I don't know for sure if I fit here, if I belong here, to, oh, I absolutely belong here because I have an advocate and a champion.
Yeah. I have a follow-up question to that. Where do you think I would love to right now be able to show people, like, I would like to put up 2 pictures of the Tara I met and the Tara now, because like it does not like she had like when you say compartmentalized, she had locked herself away and put it in a box, and Neil grabbed the key and helped her unlock it and like get her out, and they were all together and everybody's great, but you had long hair because you wanted to please your traditional values and people. Were unhappy. I just felt like you were just a totally different person. So my follow-up question to the one I just asked you is, where do you think you'd be now if you had not found this community, this Lesbian Review? Where do you think you'd be now? Do you think you'd cut your hair off? Do you think that you'd feel this way? Do you think that you would be as happy? I mean, obviously you're happy on a fundamental level.
I don't know. That's really hard to say. I think I would still be happy with Neil, and I would still be very happy with my daughters. I don't think I would be as comfortable being out at work the way I am now. I don't know that I would have been able to figure out, because I think like the thing that you're talking about is that I think in the last year it's been really interesting coming to terms with my gender identity and realizing how separate it is from my sexual orientation, because I had definitely come to terms, or I had been coming to terms with being bisexual, but I don't know what it was about. It was about this time last year when I was like, I need to cut all my hair off, because you're right, I had long hair. I didn't have any kind of a style. I didn't think I wasn't attractive. I didn't think I was ugly or anything like that, but I just had like no interest.
You even wear different clothes. Yeah, like you wore like traditional clothes, and like you would never smile in pictures. if anybody can see, Tara looks like a little cute Harry Potter. She wears like t-shirts and plaid, and like she's totally come into herself.
Well, so, and then, I don't know, it was something about like cutting my hair off, and then I got new glasses, and then, yeah, I started to get more masculine clothing, and then like really trying to figure out, it's like, why did I feel more comfortable? And then the thing that I had to grapple with was, am I allowed to look like this? Because I look super gay. Like, I look like a lesbian. My boss, she was really cute the way she said this. She was like, I hope you understand that I mean this 100% as a compliment, but you look like a lesbian hipster. And I started to laugh, and I was like, thanks. And she's like, yeah, like if I like came into a restaurant and saw you there, I think like that's somebody I could hang out with. And I was like, that's really cool. But it was like, do I get to look like this while I'm married to a man? And that was really difficult. So I think the thing that was really helpful for me was figuring out, first of all, that I feel like I actually best identify as genderqueer, because I'm still a woman, but I'm not particularly feminine. I love wearing makeup, but I also love having an androgynous haircut and masculine clothing, and I'll wear nail polish, but it's not going to be like pink and pretty. It's going to be like something really cool and interesting and whatever. And so I like...
Pink and pretty is not cool. Is that what you're saying?
Not for me. It's not. You know, like I want, I don't know.
I'm giving you a hard time.
Really dark purple with holographic blue top coat or something. I don't know. But I think it was really, really helpful for me to unpack. It felt like that's kind of the last parts of my identity that I've been unpacking in the last year was, oh, nobody gets to actually have a say in my gender representation and how I look, because that's mine as well. And it actually has nothing to do with my sexual orientation. It does have to do, it does, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. I think it also helps explain why I feel most comfortable with the term queer rather than bisexual. I definitely identify as bisexual, but I also identify as queer because I feel like that encompasses both parts of it for me.
What really gets me is how you phrased, do I get to look like this when I'm married to a man? That just really gets me, because almost no man cares like what he looks like when he's married to a woman. And it's not even comparison. It's just like the words, do I get to, like that almost gets me. And then almost kind of drills in that I know what I know about you is like people drilled in very traditional values, because I feel like if you, what do I get? Like, do I get the term do I get is just so crazy to me, because yes, you get to do it. Like, who cares? Yeah. But at the same time, I understand that you like respect the view of how people see you and Neil and when you go out, and that's a very good thing. So I totally get it, but I think we live in this world where it's like, do I get to do this? And we're like restrained by it because we have these, they're like what I like to call limiting beliefs. Like we have this limiting, do I, should I, would I, whatever, you know. So that's very interesting to me. And
the funny thing is, it wasn't Neil, because he's been supportive of all of this as well. He actually thinks I'm more attractive now because, surprise, surprise, confidence is sexy.
It was in your head.
Yeah, it was. And it was one of those like, oh, well, will other people, like, it was almost like I was afraid that other queer people would think that I was a poser. Like, am I queer enough when I'm married to a man, which I know is such bullshit.
Yeah. Don't. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I might walk around and I say in a playful way like, oh, heterosexual women, you can't have the lesbian haircut because then how am I supposed to know, right? Who's gay? But I'm just kidding. So yeah. It was never Neil. It was something all in your head. People are only held back by what they believe limits them. So very good. Next question. What are your plans for this podcast in the future? Where do you see it headed?
That's a good question. I don't plan as far ahead as I probably should. So, authors, if you want to come on this podcast, let me know. So, in the last year, I think it's been a pretty fun and interesting journey or year and a half, I guess, because that's when we started doing the author interviews. And at first it was really just, I wanted to know what are the books that authors love and want to talk about. And I still want to know that. That's still some of my favorite stuff to hear about. But I've also really enjoyed hearing Lynn Ames did something that I didn't expect when she came on the podcast. And instead of coming with a list of books, she told her journey of discovering lesbian fiction and what lesbian fiction meant to her, because she had been a public figure. She was a newscaster, I believe, in the 80s. And then she had been a spokesperson. I was trying to think what it was. A spokesperson for a prison system in the 90s, and it wasn't safe to be out. And it's a fascinating podcast. So if you haven't listened to it, I would encourage you to do so. And then I did a similar episode with the amazing Lee Lynch, who, you know, has been influential on so many authors. So I would love to get more of those as well. Like, what are those personal stories about? Like, how did you discover lesbian fiction? What did it mean for you? How did it change your life?
On that topic, though, would you ever be interested in your interviewing fans that way? Or do you only care because
definitely.
they're authors?
Definitely. I'm actually in the process of setting up an interview with somebody. Well, I don't know if it's quite an interview. Anyway, setting up an episode with somebody who's another reader, and we're going to talk about age gap romances. So I'm pretty excited about that one because that's my jam and that's her jam. And I think we're going to have fun doing that. Because, yeah, I also want to... I mean, the main point of this podcast is it's all about fangirling thoughtfully. Fangirling thoughtfully. That, you know what? That should be the tagline to this show.
Ooh, yeah!
So, definitely, And I'm going to continue to also talk to other reviewers of the Lesbian Review, because that's what we all do, right, friend? We just fangirl about our books.
Excellent. Okay, next question. All right. If we already covered this question, forget it, never mind. Well, I'm just gonna ask you, if you had a time machine, would you go back and cut your hair sooner?
Oh, yeah. Yes, hands down. Oh my God. Why did I have that long, boring hair for so long? It's sad. Yes.
So I guess the point of my podcast is everybody should cut their hair. This is the hair cutting podcast.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Go get your haircut.
Surprisingly, that was my last question. I thought I had more than that. I was having a lot of fun. I wish I had more than that, but I didn't. So everybody don't forget that Tara is a Cancer. Her middle name is Michelle. She started... What's the face?
Because I was like, what do you mean I'm a Cancer? And I was trying to figure out, and then I remember that you're talking about astrological signs. Tara's also not the brightest when she's still taking in her morning caffeine.
Yeah, she made that face with that smiley with the O for the mouth, you know what I mean? Like... Anyway. All right, so if you guys have any questions or you want to get to know Tara better, you can find her at blah, 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 address, Calgary, Canada.
Don't come to my house.
Anyway.
All right, Brooklyn. This has been a ton of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you online if they want to connect with you?
I have a Twitter and a Snapchat.
Yeah, you do.
And a Facebook. Yep. All you have to do is look for Brooklyn, like the city in New York.
There you go. That's all for this episode. Thank you so much, Brooklyn, for taking over and interviewing the interviewer.
Yeah, I think she deserves it. We want to find out the lady behind the podcast.
So, I'm Tara. You've been listening to Les Do Books. Email me at tara@thelesbianreview.com with your questions or comments. And seriously, if you're an author and you're interested in joining me on the show to talk about the lesfic you love, how you discovered it, or even just like trends that have you interested, please reach out and let me know. If you've enjoyed this episode, please check out the show notes where you'll find a Patreon link for the Lesbian Talk Show. Just a little bit would go a long way to cover hosting costs for this and other great shows on the channel that are all geared towards queer women, and Sheena puts up exclusive content regularly for our patrons. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, the Lesbian Review Book Club, so you can talk to us about anything that you're reading and loving. You can find me and all the other podcasters on the Lesbian Talk Show channel at our Facebook group, the Lesbian Talk Show chat group. To find this and many other great shows, all you need to do is search for the Lesbian Talk Show on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. Ta-da!
She covered it. Yay! Hey guys, welcome to Let's Do Brooke. This is your... Let's Do Brooke? Let's Do Books. This is your host, Brooke Lynn. The Bookin'. No. Cut it all out. Cut it all out.
You want to start over?
Yeah.